Good morning and welcome to our second SynoProtein Project Webinar. The title of today's webinar is Broadening the Base, Criteria and Insights for Selecting Aquafeed Protein Ingredients. I will give you a short overview of today's agenda and then jump right into the presentations. So first, we have Long Lin from Vi Environmental Solutions, who is also the coordinator of our project, and she will give us a short summary of the SynoProtein project and provide an overview of our goals and outlook. Then Andre Borgvik will give us a state-of-the-art overview of salmon feed ingredients today and tomorrow, followed by Annette Berndsen from Scratting, who will talk about novel ingredients as part of the solution. Last but not least, Clara Valente from Norsus will give a deeper insight into environmental and social impacts of fish feed ingredients. With that, I'm already handing over to Long.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second webinar of SynoProtein Project. This webinar is focusing on the criteria and insights for selecting aquafeed protein ingredients. Welcome. My name is Long Lin. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Y Environmental Solutions. Today, I'll give a short summary and outlook about SynoProtein Project. First of all, I would like to introduce a bit the problem that SynoProtein Project is trying to address. Problem is the demand for sustainable protein. We know protein demand keeps increasing, and you can also see the figure on the left here is being estimated by 2050. There's going to be a big protein gap, which cannot be met by traditional plant and animal-based protein sources. And we also know some traditional protein sources like soybean and fish meals can be resource intensive and have high environmental impacts. For example, deforestation, overfishing. Then SynoProtein projects aim to provide an alternative protein sources, single-cell protein. The project overall is a 54-month project, and the overall goal is to convert biomass residues or syngas into single-cell protein and biochar. Single-cell protein can be used as alternative protein sources. More specifically, the project key objectives include these following 5 objectives. First, to develop process integrating thermochemical and biological steps. Second, demonstrate process at pilot scale. And third, investigate products for aquaculture and animal feed. And fourth is to assess environmental and social impacts. And lastly, disseminate results and develop business plan. The project has gone through the first 18 months, and during the first 18 months, the project achieved significant achievements, including the following 5 major parts. The project has developed and optimized processes in lab scales. Some of the lab scale reactors being used in the project have been shown on the right-hand side here, and achieving a close to targeted performance. The project also completed pre-engineering designs, techno-economic models for full-scale plant, providing scaled-up potential and guidance for the project. The project also investigated preliminary suitability of the single-cell protein and biochar for the aquaculture animal feed. The project also completed preliminary LCA, life cycle analysis, providing guidance for environmental hotspots and process improvements. We also completed preliminary market analysis, provide information for the future business plan development. And these great achievements has been achieved by the whole consortium. The whole consortium includes 11 partners from 4 different European countries: Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Germany. Y Environmental Solutions is the SME and also the coordinator of the project. And in the consortium, we have 8 research partners and 2 large companies, which is Bergenholm is the feedstock supplier, and the Scratching is the end user of the product in this project. And today, the webinar focuses on the aquafeed protein ingredients, and you will also hear 3 amazing topics about different perspectives of this aquafeed protein ingredients. One is from Andre, which is the senior scientist from LAFEMA. LAFEMA is the leading research institute on aquaculture nutrition in Norway. And the other will be from Annette, who is the business development manager from Scratching. Scratching is the global leader in fish feed production and also the end user in SynoProtein Project. And you also hear from Clara, who is the senior researcher from the NORSUS. NORSUS is a leading research institute on sustainability in Norway. For the whole SynoProtein project, we aim to create an innovative value chain from biomass residue to the single-cell protein, which can have multiple applications for aquafeed, livestock feed, and pet food as well. And with this value chain, we can capture the carbon from syngas, which is the industry off-gas, capture the carbon, and also utilize the hydrogen in the syngas. And with this, it can also reduce the cost of hydrogen that's traditionally from water electrolysis. So then with the this innovative value chain, we can capture carbon, utilize the existing hydrogen to achieve the cost reduction. To look into the future, the project in the next 18 months aim to reach the production of protein product from grams per day level to kilograms per day level. And to achieve this, there are work need to be done regarding the equipment scale up and engineering and integration and so on. More specifically, these parts need to be done to achieve the scale up to kilograms per day production. First is process optimization, optimize thermal and bioprocesses at lab scale, and finalize pilot design. And then also a pilot demo is commissioning of the production at pilot scale and reach the 5 kilograms per day production. And product validation is to characterize and do the animal feeding trial. LCA is regarding the refinement of the life cycle assessment model for pilot scale and also even for the full scale. Then the whole project will implement the dissemination, exploitation, and communication activities, including update market assessment, draft the business plan, and also letter of intent pursuit with potential commercial partners. To summarize, the project will expect to have the optimized process and pilot the design ready, and have the pilot demo in 2026. And with this, the key outcomes is to commission the pilot system, which enable the single cell protein production from gram per day to kilogram per day production, and also validate the single cell protein product with quality, market, and environmental assessment. The expected impact from the project will include scientific innovation, and also provide alternative protein, which is a single cell protein, as alternative protein sources, and also create the innovative value chain. The project also contribute to the EU missions and bioeconomy strategy. At the end, please allow me to introduce who we are at Y Environmental Solutions and what we do. Some of you may already know, some of you may not. That Y Environmental Solutions, we aim to make a sustainable future by replacing fossil carbons with biocarbon. It's a SME founded in 2017. We have headquartered in Tønsberg, Norway, and have also 2 branch offices. Main focus is bio-based carbon materials, targeting for metallurgical industry and battery industry. So have different customized biocarbon materials for different industry uses. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for the CBE-JU and its members' support of this project, and thank you for all the partners' support of the project.
Hi, my name is Andrea Bogvik. I'm a senior scientist at Nofima, and I will today present a presentation about salmon feed ingredients today and tomorrow at the SynoProtein webinar. I will look into old, new and novel ingredients and limitation for these in salmon feed. Nofima is an applied research institute with knowledge-based research within food and feed science, looking at the whole food systems within agriculture, fisheries, and aquaculture industries. In the division Nutrition and Feed Technology, we are working with the salmon value chain, among others, from raw materials to ingredient production and use in feed to salmon and the effect on the salmon. But also in collaboration with other departments at Nofima, we're further out in the value chain of the salmon to the consumer. In Bergen, in the west coast of Norway, we also have the aquafeed technology center infrastructure, where Nofima is part of this infrastructure and have equipment for downstream processing, extrusion, and feed production to fish and other marine aquaculture species. And we do also science within the food segment. For aquafeed ingredients, what could limit its use in the fish is the availability, the amount that can be produced for standard inclusion in a commercial feed. The price in commercial production is there are use of least cost formulation that may limit high inclusion of high cost ingredient. In research perspective and also for the industry, it's important that the chemical composition is of a value doesn't have negative impact on the animal, and the nutritional value will impact the inclusion level and the nutritional value of the feed. And also the physicochemical properties of the ingredients can impact the technical feed quality. And furthermore, palatability and the digestibility of nutrients in the ingredient will impact the feed intake, growth, feed conversion, and health for the fish. And also it's important that the ingredient have similar and predictable quality every time. So in salmon feed formulation, as in other feed formulation, protein is a source of building blocks with essential amino acids important for growth. They're also partly a binder that is partly a protein ingredient that could be high in starch to bind the pellets. And the formulation also have a fat source. This is essential to have omega-3 fatty acids to cover the requirement for growth and health, and also the requirement for micronutrients, especially mineral and vitamins, but also adding additives and promoting factors that could enhance growth and the health of the fish. So through production of fish, through production of salmon, you have the different sizes of feed from the first feeding at 0.3 millimeter for 0.2 gram fish, and then increasing size of the pellets. For the after smoltification and post smoltification, the commercial feed are called according to the size of the fish, up to 2,500 grams. That often is the final diet at 9 millimeter. That are used until harvest at 46 kilo of the salmon. In feed formulation, here I showed one from FAO. It's not particularly common for Norwegian salmon, as it had feather meal, soybean meal, and blood meal. But it shows that fish meal is high in the first feeding, and then is reduced throughout the production of salmon, and the lowest in the seawater phase. Similar protein are high at first feeding and then is reduced through production, and while fat is low at first feeding and then increasing. Common in Norwegian salmon is its crude protein content close to 40, maybe a bit lower than 40 prior to harvest, and then fat content 36 to 38%. Common ingredients in salmon feeds is soy protein concentrates at high inclusion, at least in the seawater phase. This is the total use of feed ingredients in 2020 at commercial farms in Norway. And then wheat gluten, also a good protein source, is 10%, and then you have different other plant proteins. In 2020, there were approximately 10% fish meal and 10% fish oil used. Sorry. So for a protein source, it's important to look into the structure of the protein, if it's intact or hydrolyzed. If it's too hydrolyzed, it could in fact affect the performance of the fish, as it's not that high digestibility of total hydrolyzed protein. And the amino acid composition, the composition of essential amino acid, specifically lysine, methionine, histidine, and threonine, that often are added to the feed to balance the profile of the amino acids. And then you also have to look into the carbohydrates, the content, and content of nutritional factors that could impact the nutritional value of the ingredient. So for the raw material, you have to analyze the raw material to have to see what ingredient can be produced. Is it protein source? Is it oil source? and look into the stability of the raw material, how you can process it and store it, and location of the processing facility, if it should be close to the harvest facility. So in downstream processing, you have different steps. You have heating to get the fat to liquid oil, and also due to legislation to reduce microbial activity, you also have heating. And then you have different dewatering and oil separation steps that can be used: filter, press, centrifuge, to separate out the water and the oil. And also have to look into if the water fraction is of value in fish marine resources. It's high in water-soluble proteins. That's why it's evaporated and added back to the press cake and making a whole meal that is dried and grinded to the fish meal. And then you preferably should have a dry product that could be added into the fish feed. So different protein content and different ingredient available that could replace fish meal. You have this high protein, high value ingredient, wheat gluten, with 80%. Option to this is not very available today. Blood meal and fatty meal is not used in Norwegian salmon. Bacterial meal is produced at low amount, but could be used at low inclusion. Medium value product with medium to high protein content, 50 to 65. Preferable soy protein concentrate is used, and then also some other protein ingredients here. And krill meal is an important source to increase the palatability of the feed. Option here could be poultry meal, that is maybe coming up as a source in Norwegian salmon feed, and also faba protein concentrates. And then the low protein ingredient, sunflower meal, rapeseed meal, used very low inclusion. Yeast products is available at some extent now and can be used. And then also do have this combined binder and protein sources that are used to the technical quality of the feed. We have mainly used wheat in traditional feed, wheat flour, but more and more beans are used. But fish protein concentrates could also be used to some extent, as higher water soluble content will provide binding in the feed. When it comes to the food systems, there have been a change in utilizing from 2000, where you have this bioeconomy circular approach, while more and more now it's valorization of all the products, not calling the side streams at waste, but now it's more side streams that are byproducts that could be valorized and upcycled to produce new products that could be added back into the fish feeds. So some of the example of ingredients for the processed animal products, animal byproducts, what's most relevant for the salmon is the poultry byproduct meal, up to 60% protein. Could be some issue with digestibility, but there are projects working on this now. Alternative to this could be meat and bone meal from swine, also from poultry. This is some high in ash and could also have some issues with digestibility. Fatty meal and blood meal is not that used, that will not be used in the salmon production in Norway now, but could be in the future. And also there have to be acceptance in the value chain of the salmon to produce these ingredients. For the agriculture products, plant proteins are used a lot in salmon feed today, but also there could be increased production of these. This could be through gene selection, through gene modification, and through farming technology to increase protein content and production of these ingredients. There are lots of different crops, different plant sources that could be used, and increase production of these for fish feed. And there also could be done processing steps to develop protein ingredients. Example of this is fava bean protein concentrate, and also other protein concentrate that is coming up. And also that can increase use of side stream and processing these two ingredients. Example of this is distilled grain and also grass protein that has been produced the last years and tested in salmon feed. So for the marine resources, there are from the pelagic fisheries and aquaculture, there are almost 100% utilized. The byproducts are utilized to different side streams. And then you have some left in a white fishery, especially offshore fisheries and the shellfish, where you could produce new products that could be included in salmon feed. Many of these marine resources have essential nutrients as omega-3, phospholipids, osmolytes, water-soluble protein, and micronutrients. Today, some of these are substituted or added back by using additives, especially phospholipids as lecithin are used. And you also have these crystalline amino acids, and also, of course, you have mineral and vitamin premixes that are used in the feeds to cover requirements. So you have many sources that can be utilized, and we have to look into if this should be novel protein sources or if it should be included to the fish meal that are produced and combined with different species, harvest species, and also you have to look at food first and application to humans, and then the side streams to fish feed. So some of these marine resources are low trophic harvest species. Antarctic krill have been harvested now for over 20 years and is established feed ingredients for this salmon. But for 20 years ago, there also tested other Arctic krill species and amphipods that also could be looked more into in the future. I myself, I did my PhD on calanus oil, but now calanus oil is mainly used for human consumption, and the calanus industry are looking into the valorization of the side stream of this production. Mesopelagic fish, this is a stock that have been predicted to have high volumes, but there are some uncertainties and there are challenges in harvesting these species, and they also have very fast hydrolysis and need to be preserved at harvest, either frozen or in the acid as silage. This is a high nutritional value protein and fat, and also have micronutrients similar to fish meal species. So it could be added to the fish meal today. There are some seasonal variation in wax ester heavy metal that have to be mapped. We got also regarding regions of harvest. And we also see that there are differences in lipids according to the size of the fish. And of course, you have to look into challenges related to the impact on ecosystem and have a strict regulation on fisheries and quota. So the insects, many different insects could have different applications, but for the aquafeed industry is mainly black soldier fly larvae that need high temperature to produce the larvae, and also light and humidity. So the main production will maybe be in warmer countries. Today there are some legislational boundary according to the substrate that can be used, and that's why they often are co-located with agriculture mills or breweries that could use the side stream as substrate for the black soldier fly larvae to produce the volumes, and also heating that could be used from this co-location. But in the future, we hope that a lower cost substrate can be used to maybe increase the production or also lower the cost of the production of these larvae. That is a good protein source. There have been some focus on the chitin content, protein content, and digestibility, and this is also the focus of the industry and have improved a lot in the last 10 years. And then the single cell proteins, that also is the part of the SynoProtein. This gas fermenting bacterial meal also have been in the industry for 30 or more years, produced in Norway, and also produced commercially, and were a promising source with high protein content. But we also have microalgae that is upcoming as a high protein source. And there also have been some, the last 10 years, there are more and more use of this omega-3 microalgae in salmon feed. Also, we have fungi and yeast, but this is low protein ingredient, and some of these are used for functional properties. And then you also have some potential species from multi and low trophic farming. You have blue mussel, seaweed, kelp, poly sheets, tunicates. These need some processing to produce protein ingredients. There have been some promising results from blue mussel in the early days in the 80s that are still evolving project now, also to produce a meal with higher protein content. And also tunicates have been seen to have good technical quality in the feed, but they're low in protein, so the inclusion can't be that high. And then it comes to the gene modification, gene editing, and transgene raw material. This have to be accepted in the value chain of the salmon. So for now, it's not that much used in Norway, at least. But we have seen that it's maybe needed to increase the production of these plant ingredients and also the robustness to diseases. And there have been some studies almost 20 years ago regarding use of gene modified soybean and maize. And also there are now coming up more and more products that have properties as this rapeseed that can produce omega-3 and can be used as a source of omega-3 in salmon feed. So when you have an ingredient, you will test it for digestibility first to see that it have high digestibility. You then produce a high fish meal diet, and then replace 30% of this with the test ingredient. Run a salmon trial for a short salmon trial, maybe up to 6 weeks, and then you terminate with the stripping or collecting the feces and analyze the feces and feed, and then calculate digestibility of the feed, and also then from the 30% inclusion can calculate the digestibility, nutrient digestibility of the ingredient. Further on, you will do ingredient substitution growth trial, where you test the ingredient at different inclusion level, substituting some of the protein ingredients. Many have used the fish meal to replace fish meal. to see that it's comparable to the fish meal performance, but also now with a low inclusion of fish meal in diets, it's more relevant to maybe have the low inclusion of fish meal and then replace different plant proteins to see that it's performed similar when with high inclusion. And then you're looking into feed intake, feed conversion ratio, and health of the fish, and also digestibility of the diet. And then you have to look into implementation of the ingredient into the commercial production, have to be tested in case trials, if this should be done with the industry or an R&D case facility. This is question, but it has to be tested throughout the production, and that's often done by the farmers. So then it's in the tank system you have full control, while in the cages you have lots of different factors that could impact the production, and it's important to show that you have a results from this also to could be used in the commercial production of the fish. So to summarize, ingredients that are developed have to have properties and chemistry that could be added into fish feed. It have to fit into the fish feed as a protein source. And also you have to look into the circular velocity with food first, with the raw material, and then valorization of inedible side stream as substrate or as raw material to ingredient for the aqua feed value chain. And protein ingredients are mainly a source for optimal feed conversion on a fish. So the focus for a protein source is that it optimizes the feed conversion. And also when we look into what's available today and of volume and quality, is mainly available in the existing feed ingredient value chain. So this is the fish meal that could also be included all the other marine resources from the fishery, low trophic, and a valorization of side stream to increase the total fish meal production. And then you have plant proteins that could be increased production, increased protein content, and also valorization of side streams. Animal byproducts, highly available and also now hopefully accepted in the Norwegian salmon value chain. And then it have to improve more looking into the quality of these ingredients and to give the feed produce a predictable quality in the production of the feed. When I look into novel products, first in line, there are some commercial today. This is single cell protein. High protein bacteria and microalgae may be the most promising, and then you have yeast and fungi that could be used at low inclusion, and some of these are used as functional ingredients today also. Insect protein, this is a promising ingredient used today. They have hopefully there could be some legislational changes in the future, so low value substrate can be used to maybe lower the cost of this producing this ingredient. And then when it comes to low trophic species, there are some that could be krill and calnus could be available in the future, but many of these also have high processing costs that may limit the implementation and use commercially, but at least it could be used at low inclusion. Thank you for your attention.
My name is Annette Benson. I'm the Business Development Manager in Novel Ingredients at Skretting AI. And I've been invited here today to talk about novel ingredients, part of the solution. So to give you the background of my talk is that I will give you the perspective of Skretting, how we see novel ingredients in the light of sustainability. To meet future demands in terms of raw materials, but also industry growth, we need to expand our basket of raw materials, and also to have more flexibility in our formulation so that our industry can become more robust, considering the clear signals we have seen lately in terms of natural and climate related signals that has disrupted, for instance, fish oil production, and brought price spikes and supply shocks into our supply chain. So, as I say, Skretting sees novel ingredients as a key enabler in the transition to a more sustainable aquaculture. The agenda I will follow is as follows. We would start to just in general look at the novel market, look into the past, what we have done, the present, where we are, and also what we think we can expect in the future. And then transition into how we as Skretting scout and search for new suppliers, and also again framing the short and the long-term focus we have identified for the next 10 years. But let's start with where we are today and what we can expect, or what we think we can expect. So Skretting has worked for more than a decade with novel ingredients, dedicated resources, and we see novel ingredients as a key enabler. We, as I say, as the global demand for raw material will increase, and also the pressure on the traditional ingredients will intensify, novel ingredients offer new pathways to, first of all, reduce our environmental footprint, but also gives us flexibility in formulation so that we can be more robust, and as a risk mitigation in terms of what's in front of us. So we have worked with novel ingredients and been mapping and testing more than 200 different raw materials. So we think that we have the knowledge of what it takes. We will keep exploring, but we're now in the transition phase where we will go from mapping to implementation. Emerging markets have some common challenges or market dynamics that you see across all industries, and they're still taking place. And some of them, just to mention, of course, as a startup, the production costs are high, scalability can be an issue. There can also be regulatory hurdles, and we need to see proven performance over time. Market exceptions is also, of course, a bottleneck that we need to tackle, but these are not particularly for aquaculture. This is in general for all emerging industries. Skretting is now moving deliberately from mapping ingredients to switch to a more focused procedure. And we hope in the future that we can even more be an enabler as we expand our raw material basket. So what is the biggest bottleneck that we need to tackle? And of course, it's well known that cost and value remain central when you look at broader adoption of new raw materials. So for novel ingredients to become viable, compatible alternatives at scale, they must deliver the value at a cost point that also reflects the benefits they bring. And the fact is today, you not only have to compete, but you have to out-compete existing commodities. Our pallets are full, optimized to the extreme. And that's the arena you're entering as a new supplier of novel ingredients. So, but even though we think and still hardly believe that while these ingredients, they come with a premium today, in the future, they will expand our sourcing options and therefore be the opponent to the volatile natural resources that are not scalable. And this again will lower the risk by diversifying our ingredient basket. So how do we then scout and source for raw materials? We think as Skretting that it's very, very important to have a clear voice in this space. We want to take lead, and to do so, we have the last year been rethinking how we work with novels, and it all starts with a clear definition. And to support our definition, we have also launched a list where we very specifically identify ingredient items that we think or that we choose to focus on for the next period. Taking a step back, when you look at our definition, it serves multiple purposes. First of all, as I say, we have the ambition to have a clear voice in this space, but we also, we're a global company, we have several opcos, and we need to be aligned on how we approach this. So it also moving from R&D to commercial as an organization to have the highest impact in this space, we need to have common ground. And a definition serves that purpose. Switching over to the suppliers, we have more or less quantified all the experience we have working with, as I say, alongside mapping these 200 new leads. And we have questioned ourselves, what does it take to be compatible in this space? And the outcome is the Skretting matrix. The Skretting matrix is a strategic tool that we use across teams, across organization, across countries. And it's not a finite measurement or a list. It's a support, and it helps us assess and prioritize the suppliers based on three key pillars: sustainability, ingredients performance, and supplier capabilities. So if we start by looking at the definition, our definition of novel ingredients goes as follows. Novel ingredients are raw materials that have not yet been used in aquaculture at scale, with the potential of expanding and enhancing our feed offerings. They must be evaluated on food safety, nutritional value, scalability, cost competitiveness, and their environmental and social impact. As you see, our definition consists of two elements. First, we try to make a clear statement on what constitutes a novel ingredients for Skretting. And at scale is, of course, an identified bottleneck, but also the fact that it has the potential, we definitely see the potential, an opportunity to enhance our feed offerings. And also the second part stating the challenges we still have and the bottlenecks we have to tackle together. So to support this definition, we made a choice to go even further. And as I mentioned, we have also identified a list. And here is the list of the ingredient types that we will prioritize in the next coming years. And here you see a mixture of both sources for EPA, DHA, and protein sources. So as we embark now from going from mapping to implementing, I also mentioned that we have kind of gathered all the experience we had, and also we have been seeking advice externally from other industries that are within the same or struggling with the same challenges in terms of supporting companies from going from startup to commodities. And we have developed the sweating matrix. Here you see the tool that we're now become more or less common language within the organization. And let me take you through this. So this matrix represents the whole organization and also highlights the strategic importance of sustainability. So you see we have 3 pillars: sustainability, ingredient performance, and supplier capabilities. And you also see that there is a difference in coloring. So under every pillar, we have listed criteria that we think are crucial and in different importance in terms of course and development need to be in place to be compatible in aquaculture. And you see that the top light pink coloring criteria are identified as ticket to play. And ticket to play has the definition that these are criteria that are crucial and should be in place and prioritized from day one. It should form more or less the core of the business. The gray criteria are ticket to stay. So as a startup company, we recommend you to plan for this, to focus on these, to make sure that as you transition, these criteria will also be taken care of. And how do we use this tool? So every time I have an intake or I have a conversation with a startup company, we're completely transparent. We use this tool and we go through it together, giving the feedback from a squatting perspective on every point, and we try to measure maturity. Where is this company, and what needs to be taken care of? A new perspective is sustainability and ingredients performance, but supplier capabilities, what we see and how we work with suppliers is a long-term engagement. And therefore, it's very, very important that we and the company has the same idea, and also that there is a fit in terms of doing business together, the ambitions we have, and the standards we follow. So this matrix has been presented several times this year already and will be launched on the webpage of Squatting in August. And then this is our overall tool on how we guide. And if I can give some general insights in terms of how we focus, as I said, we're going from mapping to implementing. So we're narrowing down first and foremost to try to be even more impactful in the novel space. And that means that we have to prioritize and we have to make choices. And what we see now in short term is that our priority, and the rest of the industry as well, of course, is focused on securing sustainable sources of EPA DHA. Of course, these raw materials are identified or essential and linked to growth and performance. And the resources we have available today are very limited. So this is a bottleneck we need to tackle. And this is what we're now focusing hard on to see and explore how we can play a role in this part. Of course, over longer term, we will increasingly shift our attention to alternative protein sources. And while protein, of course, remains essential, we see that the market looks a little bit different. There is a wider variety of categories in the market, and at the moment we see a sign of surplus. So the sense of urgency is a little bit less, but as I say, in the longer term, this will definitely be a focus. So what I've tried to share with you today is, first of all, to give you some background in how Skretting has been working with novel ingredients in the past. We're now transitioning, going from mapping to implementing to see where the opportunity lies. There is definitely bottlenecks that we still have to tackle, and the most prominent, of course, is the cost benefit aspect. And I also would like to raise that we need to do this together as a value chain. We need to pull this together and to collaborate to make this happen. And then I've shared with you how we as a company have really been rethinking and reshaping how we work with novel ingredients. So with a new definition, we try to, one of our values is transparency. So we go with a new definition supported by a list. And we also have the Skretting matrix giving full disclosure of what we're looking for, what we think it takes to become compatible in novel ingredients, and also giving a clear signal of what kind of companies we would like to work together with. And then finishing off with the focus we have short term and long term. So thank you so much for the time, and until next time.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Clara Valente. Today, I will present the environmental and social impact of fish feed. I'm a senior researcher at NORSUS, Norwegian Institute for Sustainability Research. This research has 37 employees. Most of us are researchers, and we have office in Fredrikstad, 90 kilometers south from Oslo, and satellite office in Oslo. We are working with research that are based on direct contract with industry and government, research project funded by the Norwegian Council of Research, European project like SynoProtein, so Horizon Europe project, and we receive basic funding. Even if many of the fish producer and actor in aquaculture must use raw material for sustainable managed resource, has been shown also by previous presentation from Skretting. Still there are some sustainable practice, especially in some country of the world, as you can see in these pictures. So when we work with sustainable ingredient in the feed sector, it's important to look at the environmental and also the social impact that they can have on the environment and on the society. SynoProtein aim to develop a sustainable alternative protein source, single-cell protein, that is alternative to soybean, that is often connected to climate change impact and land use change, and to wild fish protein, the fish meal, because fish is a resource that is limited. So the role of NORSUS actually is to evaluate and assess the environmental and social impact of the SynoProtein along its supply chain and reference supply chain by using the method of life cycle assessment. But what is life cycle assessment? Is a methodology for evaluate the impact that the product has along its life cycle, so from raw material extraction to disposal. This is because each product and production plant consume some resource like water, the area, natural resource, energy and fuel, and has some impact on the environment, on the health, and on the resource. So yes, some emission to the air, to the soil, to the water. So it's important to make this assessment. And LCA is an ISO standard methodology. In this project, we would like, as I say, to develop single-cell protein. And why this? What is the aim to have a single-cell protein? Is to reduce environmental footprint, so to reduce climate impact, reduce the water use, not as impact on the land, avoid overfishing. At the same time, not introduce any other problems to the environment. However, it's very important to keep in mind that protein in the fish feed can have different origin, and they can have different type, and this has impact on their environmental performance. For example, the origin of protein in fish feed can be from fish, from plant, or bacterial, like in the case of single-cell protein from SynoProtein, and they use a different input, and they have a different pathway. So, for example, we look at the soy protein concentrate for that derive from soy base meal, then the main input is due to farming, while for the bacterial meal production, then the main resource that is used is natural gas extraction, while for fish meal and fish oil, it's actually the harvesting of the fish. So this can have impact also on the LCA result. Why there is a lot of focus on soybean replacement soybean? This is because we want to reduce the environmental impact due to soy-based feed production that come from land use change and deforestation. In fact, Latin America and especially Brazil are one of the main exporter of feed based on soya cultivation, and Brazil has important biome that are been replaced to soybean, where has been introduced soybean cultivation. Now I would like to introduce some example regarding how to report the life cycle assessment result. This example comes from Lijato from Kobayashi et al. This article regarded the production of yeast-based single-cell protein using hot production side stream, and the study has been carried out in Finland. This yeast-based single-cell protein, the result from the yeast-based single-cell protein has been compared with other single-cell protein type based on bacteria. It's been compared to macroalgae biomass and to insect meal and to more traditional soy protein concentrate. The results show that the environmental performance of the yeast-based single-cell protein is actually higher than the soybean concentrate in most of the environmental category: global warming, eutrophication, terrestrial acidification, and water consumption, while the figure is different because it's lower than for land use. And this is related to what I explained before about the land use conversion and the deforestation. This is also another example of healthy result from a case study carried out from two of my colleagues at Norsus regarding environmental performance of yeast protein for fish feed produced in Norway. The results show the variability of the climate change result from insect meal that use a different type of diet in showing highest climate change that are present in kilo of CO2 equivalent per kilo of protein in insect meal for insect mealworm that use high value diet. So they use they are fed on agricultural raw material from virgin origin, while other insects like the black soldier fly larvae, they are fed on low diet value, for example, from side stream, from brewery or agricultural waste. And then they show lowest climate change numbers. While when we compare to the reference protein for fish feed, we can see that the black soldier fly larvae has comparable result to the to fish meal, and is lower than soya protein and wheat gluten. This slide would like to show the climate change emission per kilo protein and show the combination of result of 11 scientific publications. These figures would like to show the range in the variability of the result from, let's say, low climate change emission to higher climate change emission. And the variability of the result is due to different system boundary, different software or database or time frame of the study, and so on. This is meaning that in some cases the result of LCA cannot be direct comparable. And this is an element that we have to keep in mind when we in the future we would like to compare the SynoProtein single cell protein with other literature studies. It's also important to take in consideration the social impact of fish feed. As I said before, Europe is dependent from feed based on soybean meal from not European countries, especially from Brazil, and in some cases their production can be linked to environmental problem due to deforestation and land use change. This is why when we are developing new type of protein for fish feed, it's important to look also on social aspect. So we would like to ask, when comparing different type of origin of feed for protein production, which potential social issue can rise among human rights, labor rights, local community governance, and health and safety? For doing then this assessment, we use a methodology that is called social life cycle assessment, that is the mirror of the environmental LCA, but instead to look at the environmental impact, here we look at the social impact along the value chain, from raw material extraction to the end of life. And it considers not only the negative impact, but also the positive impact. It's also this now a ISO standard methodology, and the main guidelines for social LCA has been published by the United Nations Environmental Programme Agency, UNEP. The logic of the social LCA is based on the use of impact category that are linked to, for example, working condition, health and safety, human rights, and each of these impact category is connected to stakeholders categories. There is also, I would like to report one example of social LCA studies. However, I would like to highlight there is not social LCA studies for a specific or protein applied to the fish feed or the aquaculture sector. This is why these studies is actually linked to livestock production in Norway, but it includes also imported feed and domestic off-farm feed. The table that I show here presents the selection of the stakeholder categories and social subcategory and indicators that have been selected by participatory approach in the study of Muller et al. We can see that there are many indicators, and for example, for local community, we have the safe and healthy life condition, and one indicator is linked to the use of pesticide, and you can measure how much has been used per hectare of crop land. Other indicators are linked, for example, to local employment or to the health and safety of the workers. I would like now to sum up some of the main social risk, or more correctly, main potential social risk linked to fish feed production that are plant-based and imported from other countries in the world. For example, if we focus on soya bean production, this production can be connected to problem to labor right, for example, to intensive labor like long working hours. They can be connected to unfair payment, bad working condition, and the safety of the worker can be also low. Then other risks can be connected to the change in the land use, and this can have impact of indigenous population and impact of local communities and biodiversity. Another impact of soybean production is due to the farmer livelihoods, because small scale farmer cannot compete with large scale farmers due especially to the price, so there can be an unfair competition. And another risk can be connected to pesticide use, because often in the production of soybean, pesticide and herbicide are used, and this can have not only environmental consequence but also negative impact on the health of the workers, but also on the water contamination of the water contamination in local communities. So in conclusion, we can say that the environmental performance of protein that are used as a fish feed can vary a lot in different LCA studies. This is because they can have different origin, there are different system boundary that can be used. So what is important to do is to collect specific data in LCA analysis for different ingredients. In addition, for the social LCA part, there is not yet studies that are specific on single cell protein, but what we can say that there are some social sustainability studies for more conventional feed production, like for example for soybean, and this shows some potential social risk connected to the working condition of the farmers that can be difficult, especially in some country, not European country or developing countries, where there is a lack of governance. So my take-home message is that it's good that we look for sustainable alternative for fish feed and novel ingredient in the aquaculture, because this is the aim of a sustainable bioeconomy. But in this phase of transition, it's very important to consider the environmental and social aspect of this novel ingredient. And with this, I conclude my presentation, and I thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much, Clara. And thank you again to all our speakers for providing these different perspectives on the topic of aquafeed ingredients. And of course, thanks to you for joining our webinar. If you want to know more about the project or follow us for updates, you can visit us on LinkedIn or our website and subscribe to our newsletter. And with that, wish you a very nice rest of your day and hope to hear from you soon.